Understanding Seasons the Vedic Way. This is the third video in a series of videos based on my book critiquing Mr. Nilesh Oak's date of Mahabharata. In the first video, it was proved that Arundhati did not walk in front of Vasishtha any time in the past based on several counts. And in the second video, I proved that Arundhati Vasishtha observation cannot be taken as a falsifier based on Sir Karl Popper's scheme. As such, we proved that there is no epoch of Arundhati as claimed by Mr. Nilesh Oak, and his date of Mahabharata, that is 5561 BCE, is untenable. To put it in a nutshell, this is the timeline upon which Mr. Nilesh Oak has built his epoch of Arundhati, in which he has placed his Mahabharata date at 5561 BCE. When the epoch of Arundhati is gone, is no longer tenable, the Mahabharata date is also not tenable. But a question may arise, what happened to the other evidences that he had shown, the geological, archaeological, etc. The fact is, the evidences that have gone in support of his date at 5561 are also gone when that date itself is untenable. Moreover, such evidences must be integral to the text. For example, in the case of Ramayana, the sea level data or the sea level map at the time of Ramayana, that is his date of Ramayana, is enough to show that his date is right. He has to show that. Similarly, in the case of Mahabharata, one of the evidences come from the submerged Dwaraka. But there are 7 Dwarakas as per tradition. The current one is the 7th Dwaraka. The 6th one was the big Dwaraka, which got submerged 3500 years ago. And before that, the 5th Dwaraka was occupied by Krishna. So any evidence that one is showing must be integral to the text and not just, oh, it existed 9000 years ago, 7000 years ago. Not like that. And also, many people have been showing different date lines is what Mr. Nilesh Oak is complaining. We have to be very clear about one thing. We have a specific date for Kali Yuga. That is, we have completed 5120 years of Kali Yuga. We are in the 5121st year now. This date is inviolable because this has been invoked in all the religious activities now and all the time in the past 5000 years, and this date has been initiated by Vyasa himself, which I have proved in my book. 35 years before this date, Mahabharata war has happened. So our attempt must be to locate this date and not some date. Whereas Mr. Nilesh Oak has got his date much earlier without taking cognizance of this fact that Mahabharata date is already fixed. Our attempt is to prove it using the evidences that we find in the text. All of us engaged in the research of the Itihasas, the Mahabharata and Ramayana, must be mindful of our responsibility of not disregarding the fundamentals of Vedic culture, such as the symbolism of Arundhati. The symbolism of Arundhati is such that she was a Pativrata who followed her husband's footsteps, which I variously explained in the first video. But the value system of the current times is such that people ask, why should a woman follow her husband? Why not she lead her husband? So we must be mindful of this kind of mindset, and we should adhere to the virtue or the cultural values of the time period about which we are researching. Unfortunately, in the case of the Mahabharata research of Mr. Nilesh Oak, this symbolism of Arundhati has become the casualty. Another feature which I already explained is the Kali Yuga star date. It comes with a year, month, tithi, star and weekday which are fixed. In Pramati year, Chaitra Masa, Amavasya Tithi, in Ashwini star at 0° Aries on a Thursday, Kali Yuga had started. Based on that only we are keeping the time even today. Not only that, the planetary combinations also. That is the entire combination of the 5 features of the Panchanga and the planetary combinations only will be able to exactly locate a date. This cannot repeat again in a yuga. We must be mindful of that. Present-mindedness is the biggest problem in any historical research, according to scholars. Present-mindedness not only about the present cultural values, but also about various other things that impact our research. For example, Mr. Nilesh Oak, in his video on defining the lower limit on the timing of Ramayana, says that if you want to understand the past, we have to begin at the present. That is, the historical past can be understood from the present, he says. And in this context, he is giving his opinion about seasons, which is the present understanding, whereas it is not so that was followed in the past by our Vedic ancestors. Wrong opinion about seasons is being spread by him is the basic focus of his current presentation. Let us see that. In his book on Mahabharata dating, he refers to the time period when Krishna left for the peace mission from Upaplavya. It was given as Kaumudi Masa in late Sharad season before the arrival of the Hemant Ritu. But Mr. Nilesh Oak, who is using the current time scale of the astronomy software, finds it in Varsha season. He himself has written in the book, this is based on the assumption that Mahabharata astronomers defined the seasons in the same fashion as we understand them today. From where did he get this assumption? Again, he says the precession of equinoxes affects the beginning of a new season with respect to Indian lunar calendar. That is, every 2000 years, the season precedes by one lunar month. Do we have any literature or any evidence for this in any of our Vedic texts? But he says that from his present-mindedness. He again says that the tropical year, that is the astronomy software, traces the top tropical year. It is 20 minutes shorter than the sidereal year. Mr. Nilesh Oak is aware of the sidereal year used by the ancients. Only because of the difference in the tropical year and the sidereal year, there is a shortage of 1 month every 2000 years. How can someone follow the present set, that to a Videshi Western concept, to apply to the Vedic concept, a Vedic calendar which is sidereal? Let me show with an illustration how the Vedic society had dealt with runaway factors. Here I am showing the zodiac, starting with Aries and counted clockwise and placed the sun in Aries, meaning the month was Chitra Masa. And there is common knowledge that when the full moon occurs at Chitra star, the Masa is Chaitra or Chitra. But in reality, it doesn't always happen. The first year, the full moon could have happened at Chitra, the next year at Swati, but still that is the Chitra Masa. And the year after that in Vishaka. So we find when the sun is in Aries and the full moons are happening just opposite to that, in the other side of the zodiac, in Chitra, Swati or Vishaka, then that month is taken as a Chitra Masa or Chaitra Masa. Sometimes it overshoots. So at that time only the concept of Adhika Masa comes. But what happens, our Vedic society or Vedic astronomy always wanted to have a kind of ideal condition in which the sun and the moon will be together at the beginning of a sign. Only then, the subsequent months, the full moon will happen at the exact stars. Otherwise, they will be happening in different stars. But even then, after 3 or 4 months, the runaway thing will happen. They waited until the Adhikamasa was accrued and then expunged it by bringing sun and the moon together. And from there, once again, you count and the full moons will be happening at the exact stars. So their concentration was to have a kind of ideal combination of sun and the moon, conjunction and opposition, and also happening the respective signs at the backdrop of respective stars. All this matter. Contrast this with Western astronomy, which is following a different yardstick for determining the month, the vernal equinox and the seasons. Here I am showing you the globe and the celestial equator, which is intersected by the ecliptic. The point of intersection of these two determine the vernal point or the vernal equinox, and on that day the sun will be shining over the equator. That is the import. Presently, this happens in the sign Pisces. Whereas in our Vedic culture, we always consider that the vernal equinox or Vishuva occurs at Aries in the star Ashwin or any other star of Aries in any time in the past. But Western astronomy treats the point of vernal equinox as the position of Aries, while in fact the background constellation is Pisces, and the vernal equinox is happening at Uttanapada, which is in the sign Pisces. So this is a major difference between the Western and the Vedic astronomy. In Western astronomy, the vernal equinox determines the starting of the year or the starting of the first month of the year, that is Aries. Now I am going to show why the present-mindedness applied by Mr. Nilesh Oak is wrong for historical research of the kind that he has undertaken. Here I am showing the timeline with a marker that represents 0 degree Aries. This is the circle where I have located the vernal equinox as given by the Western astronomy, which is now falling in the constellation or in the sign of Pisces, whereas Western astronomy recognizes this as Aries, and from here the Vasanta Ritu or the spring season starts. One must remember that the vernal equinox is not a fixed point. It keeps moving, and along with that the spring season also keeps moving, right? According to Mr. Oak, in his video, he has said that 2000 years before now, that is at the point where 0 degree Aries was there, Chaitra Masa started in the first part of the Vasanta Ritu. That is between minus 2K, which is 2000 BCE, and the Common Era. The first part of Vasanta Ritu was running between 0 degree Aries point, that is the Common Era, and the present point, that is VE. The second part of Vasanta Ritu is running, where Western astronomy has placed Aries, and Mr. Nilesh Oak also believes that is where Chaitra Masa begins. Whereas in the Vedic system, we still continue to regard or deduce the Aries or the Chaitra Masa in the exact constellation called Aries, or from the time of Amavasya that happens just before Aries in the lunar month. But he thinks Chaitra Masa had started at the VE point now itself, which is not so as per the Vedic astrology. Now he is showing the other date, that is the 4000 BCE mark. According to him, between 2000 BCE and 4000 BCE, the second part of Shishira Ritu has happened. Between 4000 BCE and 6000 BCE, the first part of Shishira Ritu has happened. The point is, it is in between or in this particular segment, Mr. Pushkar Bhatnagar has located his Ramayana date, that is at 5114 BCE. The Ramajanana had happened in Chaitra Masa in 5114 according to Pushkar Bhatnagar. But Mr. Nilesh Oak in that video says that Pushkar Bhatnagar has placed it at the peak of Shishira Ritu, because according to him, between minus 4K and minus 6K, Shishira Ritu must have been running. While in fact, this is the location, that imaginary or just for illustrated purpose only I am showing this location. This is the location that the Aries constellation had shifted. It was in the past, that is around 5114, and Pushkar Bhatnagar has located his Ramajanana, that is his date of Ramajanana, only here, because in the Vedic society we are always oriented towards the location of the sun. When the sun is in Aries, we call it as the Chaitra Masa or Chitra Masa. That is how he has located it. Even though we have another proof also for this, which I am showing from a record of the British colonial period. It is the Madras Journal of Literature and Science, written in 1833 and 34, where it is said that sun entered Aries on 11th April. Today it is entering on 14th April or sometimes on 15th April. But it was entering in Aries on 11th April some 180 years ago. So this shows our society had always looked at the point of sun's entry into Aries and not at vernal equinox or anything like the Western astronomy says. Similarly, Pushkar Bhatnagar also oriented his date towards that position of sun in Aries. Vernal equinox could have happened in any of those places. Doesn't matter. That is not what we do in the Vedic culture. Whereas Mr. Nilesh Oak continues with the circle, like between 8000 BCE and 6000 BCE, Hemanta Ritu's second part had happened. Between 10,000 BCE and 8000 BCE, Hemanta Ritu's first part had happened, and at the time of 12,000 BCE, Sharad Ritu was running, that is between minus 12K and minus 10K, Sharad Ritu was running, and he has placed his date of Ramayana around that time, saying that the Chaitra Masa had happened at Sharad Ritu, whereas we have every evidence from Ramayana, the text of Ramayana, saying that Ramajanana had happened in Vasanta Ritu, in the month of Chaitra. The problem is, Mr. Nilesh Oak started from the vernal equinox at present. From there, 4000 years, one season, Vasanta Ritu. So from minus 2K to another 4000 years, that is minus 6K, it was Shishira Ritu according to him. From minus 6K to minus 10K, it was Hemanta Ritu according to him. From minus 10K onwards, crossing minus 12K, it was Sharad Ritu. In reality, this is not what the Western astronomy says. According to Western astronomy, suppose the vernal equinox occurs at minus 12K, that means from then onwards the Vasanta Ritu starts. See, vernal equinox means the sun will be shining on the equator, the same day and night time. So from then the spring starts. Suppose the vernal equinox occurs at minus 4K, 4000 BCE. That means the Vasanta Ritu started at that time and there was no Shishira Ritu happening then. Suppose the vernal equinox is happening as minus 8K. The spring Ritu started from then. And it's not proper to say that Hemanta Ritu has started. The problem with Mr. Nilesh Oak's understanding is that he has frozen the entire time scale to the current time of vernal equinox as Pisces. Currently, the Vasanta Ritu starts its vernal equinox in Pisces. So from there he had just taken out every season backward and has frozen. Whereas the fact is, at every point the vernal equinox is moving, there the spring season also comes along with that. It is a little bit more proper to say, for example, in the year minus 2k, that is 2000 BCE, it is more proper to say that if the vernal equinox was at 2000 BCE, the spring season started in the backdrop of Taurus, like how the spring season is starting in the backdrop of Pisces at the moment. And suppose the vernal equinox is at 4000 BCE, it is proper to say that the spring season started at the backdrop of Gemini. That is a more proper way of saying that. Whereas the spring season started at the backdrop of Gemini, but by the current reckoning used by the Western astronomers, that was the time of Chaitra. That is, when the vernal equinox was at 4000 BCE, Chaitra Masa and spring season occurred in the backdrop of Gemini. That is the explanation given by the Western astronomer. But Mr. Nilesh Oak had completely messed up with that, confused with that, and taken the present vernal equinox position as the season's time or the beginning of the time of seasons for the Vedic astronomy. It is not applicable to Vedic astronomy. But he has applied this to Vedic astronomy and frozen the entire circle to the date that is currently running. This happens with softwares I have seen. In the case of astrology software, for the current precision rate, whatever you are seeing, the sky map you are getting is correct. But suppose you want to locate the planetary position or the Tithi, Nakshatra and other Panchanka features for a day, for a date, say after 5000 years or before 5000 years. This software will be using the same precision for that, which is not correct. At that time, the precision rate and whatever other movement must be different. So, but when we are producing it, the software will show for the current date only, the current settings. The same thing must have happened with him also. He is using a software for the current set and he is freezing the entire space, entire time for the current settings and saying that 5114 occurred at Shishumara. Whereas the fact will be around that time, if the vernal equinox is occurring around that time, only spring season must have started. And another problem in this is that in Vedic astrology, we have always gone after Sun's location in Aries and not the vernal equinoctial position. For example, according to his interpretation, minus 5114 must have happened at a time when vernal equinox was between Gemini and Cancer. That is, they would be calling Chaitra when the vernal equinox is at Gemini or Cancer, which is not so according to the Vedic astrology. So one must have a clarity in thought about what we are dealing with and whether the current concept of astronomy software is applicable to dating the Vedic past. Now I am going to show an inconsistency in the date of Ramayana, in which he has aligned Chaitra Masa with Sharad Ritu based on a research by himself on dating and update of Surya Siddhanta that was published in an Indology website. And here he is showing the year 12,000 BCE, which has been proved wrong in my book. And this year also happens to be his Ramayana date, where he has aligned Chaitra with Sharad. But the same Surya Siddhanta in the last chapter has given two verses on the start of the Uttarayana and also the seasons. It says that when the sun enters Capricorn, Uttarayana starts, and when it enters Cancer, the Dakshinayana starts. Then it comes to the seasons part. After the Uttarayana has started, the two signs transited by the sun represent the Shishira Ritu, and the next two signs in which Aries is placed represent the Vasanta Ritu. That means Surya Siddhanta has recognized Vasanta Ritu coinciding with Chaitra Masa or Aries. But an update of the Surya Siddhanta, the so-called update of the Surya Siddhanta dated by Mr Nilesh Oak, recognizes an year in which he has coincided Chaitra with Sharad Ritu. So the same Surya Siddhanta, two different versions. One existent in the Surya Siddhanta itself and another interpreted by Mr Nilesh Oak as coinciding with Sharad Ritu. Which is correct? Which will be taken as correct? The original Surya Siddhanta was or an interpretation by Mr Nilesh Oak? With Mr Nilesh Oak having combined Chaitra Masa and Sharad Ritu for his Ramayana date, here I am producing evidences from Ramayana that the seasons or months had never changed from Ramayana times until today. The first evidence I am giving here is told by none other than Rama himself in the context of Varsha season after he has vanquished Vali. Here he is talking about the Ashada Vrat, which is relevant even today, which is being carried out even today, which is started in the month of Ashada and carried on for 4 months. And the same thing Rama has expressed in his time. The same thing, the same month, the same season, it is continuing today also. The second evidence I am showing is from the same version and the same chapter by Rama, in which he talks about the Samavedins doing the learning in Bhadrapada month in the Varsha season. Today also, during the Varsha season, when it is a rainy season, in the month of Bhadrapada, the Samavedins do their Upakarma, the learning process. So nothing has changed from Ramayana times to now. Now the third evidence that I am going to give you here is about their 9-month pregnancy of clouds that is giving rise to rainfall later. And this by itself is a vast branch of knowledge which not many people know. But as one who is involved into this research, I can very well say that whatever he has told about this 9-month pregnancy, when it is observed, is also continuing the same today also. The same concept of pregnancy of clouds is repeated during the Mahabharata times as known from the Brihad Samhita verses attributed to sage Garga and Parashara, wherein it is stated the pregnant clouds observed from waxing phase of Kartika month gives rise to rainfall 9 months later, that is in the Ashada month. The idea is also found in Ramayana, the same months. And the pregnancy of clouds observed in the asterism of Purvashada in Margashira month gives rise to the time period starting from sun's transit from Arudra until it reaches Jeshta. Then I am going to talk about it shortly from another verse of Ramayana. And the same concept, the same observation is possible, is being done today also during the same months with the expectant rainfall in the same season and in the same month only. So nothing has changed over the years from Ramayana times until now in terms of seasons or months. The features of pregnancy of clouds given in Brihad Samhita and attributed to sages like Garga and Parashara is found in the narration of Lakshmana too in Ramayana in Panchavati, when Rama, Lakshmana and Sita were going towards Godavari river to take bath at a pre-dawn time. At that time, Lakshmana has said that Sharad Ritu had gone and Hemanta Ritu had set in, and any time this Uttarayana is going to appear. But there he says, Ayam Sakala Samprapta. The time has come to know how the next Samvatsara is going to be. Samvatsara Shubhaha, how good the Samvatsara is going to be. That will be known at a time, and that time has come now. This is nothing but a reference to the observation of the pregnancy of clouds, which happens in the month of Margashira when the sun is transiting the star Purvashada. Every day of Purvashada is observed to know how the samvatsara, the next samvatsara is going to be, how good it's going to be, depends upon the amount of rainfall it is going to get. That is what is being told by Lakshmana in this verse. And in the course of expressing so many features of atmospheric, celestial and then terrestrial related to the observation of the pregnancy of cloud, he is giving another verse also, which has been interpreted by Mr. Nilesh Oak as an evidence for the starting of Uttarayana in Kataka Rashi in his time scale of Ramayana, that is for 12,000 BCE. Never we have come across a reference to Uttarayana starting in Kataka in any of the texts of the Vedic culture. Only in the past 100 years, the researchers are talking about this starting of Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, any time and any month. After they have started using this astronomy software or Western, after getting influenced by the Western astronomy, I believe. But here what does the verse say? The verse says, Nivrutta Akasha Sayana Pushya Hima Arunaha. Perhaps by looking at the word Arunaha, he has meant Aruna. Mr. Nilesh Oak must have taken it to mean sun, and then he has interpreted it as the sun setting near Pushya. Whereas the verse doesn't say that at all. Here it says Pushyanita Hima Arunaha, means Hima Arunaha is about the fog, the brown colored fog, which is enveloping the star Pushya. This Pushyanita has a parallel in the first verse of Sundarakanda, where it is said, Tato Ravana Nidaya. Taken away or carried away or enveloped or taken away, taken over by Ravana. The Nidaya means carried away, brought. So the Hima Arunaha, that is the fog, also has taken away the Pushya star. And from that, Nivrutta Akasha Sayana. From the Akasha Sayanam, the Pushya star had come out. In the second line, Lakshmana says, however, the chillness has continued for 3 yama. 3 yama. For 3 yama it had continued until the time they were talking. So, the verse is definitely not about the sun setting in the western direction in Pushya star, which is interpreted by Mr. Nilesh Oak as the starting of Uttarayana in Kataka, which is wrong. The verse only says that Pushya star had been enveloped by the tawny frost, and that Pushya star had come out of sleep in the sky. This happens in the Margashira month. In the month of Margashira, the early part of the night will have fog. In the Hemanta Rutu, the early part of the night will have fog, which is Munpani Kalam in Tamil. That is until 10 o'clock or so, it will be foggy, but after that it will disappear. The same thing had been expressed here. In the early part of the night, Pushya star is rising in the east, but it has been taken over by the fog, and after it is as though the Pushya star was sleeping, Akasha Sayana, and then now it has come out, and the rest of the night was very cold. For 3 yama, here yama means jamam, it is told. It is a division of day or night into 5 equal parts, and since the time was winter time, which had longer night, when Lakshmana has expressed it in one of the verses in the same chapter. So each yama normally is equal to 2 hours and 24 minutes. If we take the duration of the entire duration as 12 hours, now it must have been more. So for 3 yamas means more than 7 hours. Suppose we are assuming that till 10 o'clock at the night, the fog was enveloping the sky. Then for 7 hours after that, it was very cold, and by then the dawn has come. That has been told by Lakshmana in the star. And let me express it by means of a diagram now. Here I am showing the zodiac, that is the sky view starting from Aries and counted in clockwise direction. And I have placed Margashira in Sagittarius and showing a line to show the limits of the sunrise and sunset, the blue line. In Margashira, the sun rises in Margashira, and after sunset, Gemini rises in the east. This is followed by Cancer, in which Pushya star is located. The verse by Lakshmana says, after Pushya has risen, fog has overtaken them. Fog has enveloped the entire sky, so they are no longer able to see the Pushya star which was rising, and that is poetically expressed as Akasha Sayana. The Pushya was in Shayanam, and after the fog has left, and then it is said that Pushya has come out of the Akasha Sayana. The rest of the night that went on for 3 yama were very cold. Only this has been told in this verse. But unfortunately, Mr. Nilesh Oak has interpreted this to support his claim of this Ramayana date, to say that the sun had set near Pushya and that Uttarayana had started near Kataka. Whereas the entire verse is about the observation of Pushya, which is very valid for the observation of the pregnancy of clouds in the month of Margashira when the sun will be in Purashada. For the particular reference of Pushya, the sun must have been in the 3rd degree of Purvashada. That is, when the sun is moving in the 3rd degree of Purvashada, whatever is observed, the pregnancy of clouds observed on that day, will tell the person how the rainfall is going to be when the sun is going to transit Pushya later in Ashada month. Now, let us take a look at the definition of a season given in the Vedic culture. I am producing this from the Rig Vedanga Jyotisha and Yajur Vedanga Jyotisha. It says that 4.5 stars constitute one Ritu. The movement of the sun across 4.5 stars is one Ritu, which is equal to 2 signs and which is again equal to 60-degree span of the zodiac. And this is reiterated in Vajasaneya Samhita and Taittiriya Samhita, wherein it is stated that Madhuscha Madhavascha Vasantika Vritu. Madhu, Madhava are the names of the solar months in those times. They roughly coincide with Mesha and Rishabha. And those months only constitute the Vasanta Ritu, says Vedanga Jyotisha. And this is again told in terms of the lunar months also, wherein it is stated 2 lunar months and 2 tithis make one Ritu. And how this is synchronized with the earlier definition. In a month, that is in a sign of 30-degree span, where there are 2.25 stars, it takes 1 month and 1 tithi for the moon to cross it. So for 2 signs, it is 2 synodic months and 2 tithis to make one Ritu. So what we understand from this is that the Vedic astronomy has defined the season in terms of sun and the moon in the backdrop of the stars. And modern Western astronomy has nothing to do with that, has not got a grasp of it, and it is totally irrelevant for defining or for deducing the dates of the seasons here. Let me show this pictorially. The zodiac and this blue line determines the limits of Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. I have placed the line in such a way that this coincides with what is told in the Vedanga Jyotisha. That is, in Vedanga Jyotisha, the Uttarayana started in Dhanishta Nakshatra in Makar Rashi. And this is Uttarayana, WS, winter solstice, summer solstice, Dakshinayana had started in Kataka Rashi only. Now the midpoint of this is Vishuva or vernal equinox. We call it as Vishuva only. But nowhere in Vedanga Jyotisha or any other Vedic text it is said that Vishuva occurred in this star or in that star. It just says, Vedanga Jyotisha just says Vishuva is the midpoint between Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. And based on this, the seasons can be determined. That is, when the Uttarayana started in Dhanishta Nakshatra in Makar Rashi, the first 2 were the Shishira Ritu and the Vasanta Ritu almost started from the Aries only. Now I am going a different alignment. The alignment that we see today. Today, the brown color line that I am showing here represents the limits of Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. Uttarayana starts from Sagittarius today. and the Dakshinayana from Gemini. There is no Tropic of Cancer but only Tropic of Gemini today, right? And here I am showing the midpoint, the Vishuva. The Vishuva occurs at vernal equinox. That is what the Western astronomy also says. We agree to that. But that is the Vishuva. But for all practical purposes, we are not following this, as we are more concerned about the median or ideal or optimum position. This position, which is told in Surya Siddhanta as I explained some time ago, starts from the Capricorn. That is, Uttarayana starts from Capricorn and the Dakshinayana from Cancer. When you have that limit, then the Vishuva occurs at Aries only. That is the median position. So we have always taken the median position for all practical purposes, and maybe for calculating the planetary positions in a particular time, we are making the calculations for the Vishuva or the vernal equinox and depending upon the Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. But never and nowhere it had been told that Uttarayana and Dakshinayana started in any other sign. It will be always between Capricorn or even Sagittarius, which I will be explaining in the next video. The Vedanga Jyotisha gives us ample clues on how to derive the season and tithi alignment in the Mahabharata times. Both the Mahabharata times and the Vedanga Jyotisha times have followed the 5-year yuga, about which you can read in my book. Here I am giving just the gist of how the seasons and tithis looked during the different months. The exile period of the Pandavas ended in the 5th year of the 5-year yuga, that is in the Grishma Ritu, after which in Sharad Ritu, Krishna had gone on the peace mission. It is written in Mahabharata, Kaumadi Masi, Revatyam Sharadante Himagami. And here the Kaumadi Masi is being interpreted by Mr Nilesh Oak as some other month, whereas the table shows that it had coincided with Ashwayuja and Kartika. By the word of it, the Kaumadi Masi coincides with Kartika because it's Sharadanti. Why it is a Sharadanti? The Sharad season as shown here started in Ashwayuja month on a Shukla Chaturthi. And the next comes the Kartika month, and in the Kartika month, during where Revati Nakshatra he had left. That means it was just few days after that the Kartika full moon had happened. So the major part of Ashwayuja month has gone. Nearly half of Kartika month is getting over. So another half of Kartika month only is there. That is why it is Sharadanti. So the comedy should refer to Kartika only and nothing else. So here we are seeing how the seasons and even the months are aligned, or Uttarayana and Dakshinayana also are aligned with tithis. In the first year you are seeing that the Uttarayana and the Shishira Ritu started in Shukla Ashtami. In the second year Uttarayana and Shishira Ritu started in Krishna Panchami. So it keeps changing from year after year. It is all in terms of our tithis and nakshatras also. So whenever a reference comes to Uttarayana or some season in Mahabharata, they have meant this tithi only. And we have to find out in which year, 5th year or 4th year or 2nd year. So a lot of things to be done here. Whereas using the vernal equinox based, the tropical zodiac based Western astrology to interpret these verses just gives a complete mismatch between what the Mahabharata writers have said and what this astronomy software is capable of. In fact, astronomy software is incapable of interpreting the Uttarayana or season or any tithi as told in the Mahabharata or Ramayana is what the viewers must understand. Now I want to give a quick recap of what we have seen so far in a nutshell, how the sidereal concept differs from the tropical concept of the Western astronomy. In the sidereal concept, we are oriented towards the sun in the backdrop of specific stars, and seasons never changed over the millennia. Please remember that. From the evidences of Ramayana, we can see that the Varsha season occurred in the same month in Ramayana times and also at the current times. And the background record is running for thousands of years. We can rely on this records because this has gone on for thousands of years and people have observed for thousands of years and have given this knowledge. But what about the tropical concept? It is a projection, that is the Vishwa is a projection from the earthly plane into the ecliptic. Uttarayana is a projection like that. And seasons keep changing continuously in tropical. And it is only of recent origin. So we don't know how or what the future is going to be of this kind of concept, this tropical concept. Whereas we have a very long past backing up the current concept that is available to us. But the question remains, how is it that the time or the seasons change with the months in the tropical calendar or tropical astronomy, but not so in sidereal astronomy? I am leaving it to the scientific community to work on it and find out. I have established so far that the Western astronomy based softwares are not at all useful or relevant for dating the Vedic past, such as the Ramayana, Mahabharata. And the seasons also are not meant for dating. But unfortunately, Mr. Nilesh Oak is relying on seasons again and again in support of his dates in Mahabharata or Ramayana, and he is using the astronomy software, those concepts, those misunderstood concepts, to interpret the seasons of the Mahabharata or Ramayana, which would not give the correct results. And seasons aid in the manifestation of karma, and they are not meant to be the techniques or factors relevant for dating. The seasons aid in manifestation of karma is known from the Purusha Sukta. Perhaps Purusha Sukta is the earliest text in which we come to know about seasons. Why the earliest text? It's not because I don't want to say that it was created earlier or later, nothing like that. But the concept of creation is given there. The concept of creation of the Purusha or the cosmic being who is born into the created world. He himself is born into the created worlds, and in that context he talks about seasons and nothing else, and nothing about the planets or other things. Here we are getting a particular verse from Purusha Sukta which runs as follows. Yat Purushena Havisha Deva Yajnamatanvata Vasanto Asya Sidajyam Grishmayidma Sharadhavihi. It says that Purusha, he became the Yajna himself, by himself. He became the Yajna and he was the harvest, and he himself created everything out of this. In that context, there it is said that the spring or the Vasanta season is the ghee, and the Grishma Ritu was the fuel or the wood, the fire. The fire is high in the Grishma Ritu, whereas in the Sharad Ritu you are getting the end result of this Yajna. Only these three Ritus are given. Doesn't mean the other Ritus are irrelevant. The other Ritus have other meaning which is out of context for this presentation. But here what we are seeing is that the Yajna Purusha, by having himself born as the people or the animate or inanimate beings, by having created the seasons, is making them undergo different experiences, which is nothing but the manifestation of the Prarabdha Karma. From Purusha Sukta verse, it is known that seasons are more about experiences, and seasons are aligned to months and months aligned to stars that we have seen on the basis of the Vedanga Jyotisha verses. The star has an integral and important role in Vedic astronomy, and the star has a connection with the earth and the earthlings. It's because the star has the root word, that is the nakshatra has the root word naksh, which means obtain, get, attain or arrive at. Obtain what? The star is in the form of Purusha. Purusha Sukta says Nakshatrani Rupam. The Purusha has the Rupam of the Nakshatras. So now the Purusha is born as the earth and the earthlings, that is us. How he has to transfer the effects, whatever, due to us. So how we have to obtain? So we have to obtain the results of our karma, the fruits of our karma from the stars, and that is why it is known as nakshatra. And only in that sense, the stars are known as the timekeepers. They are keeping the time of when a person has to undergo a good thing or a bad thing, all this. So that is where the concept of timekeeping comes basically. But the star needs a medium through which it has to pass through or make us obtain the fruits. Here I am showing the sun. When it comes into contact with the sun, or when the sun appears just in front of the star, it just catches or obtains the fruits of karma that is due to us. Similarly, when the moon comes in the line of contact between us and the stars, we obtain the results. Same with the planets also. Here I must say, the planets whose light reaches us only matter. The planets such as Uranus, Neptune, Pluto do not matter because their light do not reach us. But Mr. Nilesh Oak has included those planets also, that is Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, as the planets mentioned by Vyasa in Mahabharata, which is absolutely wrong. If one knows about the basics of Vedic astronomy, one will not even think about including those planets into the scheme. The basis of Vedic astronomy is such that the light of the stars is transferred through Aditya, moon and the planets and reaches, and through that light only we are getting the fruits of karma. That is the route, or that is the medium that through which the effects or the karma is passed through. That is the concept. So it is not proper to include Uranus and Neptune in the scheme of the Vedic astronomy which Mr. Nilesh Oak has done. Purusha in the form of nakshatra helps us to obtain the fruits of karma, is what basically Vedic astronomy is about, and that is where we are finding the nimittas and other ones mentioned by Vyasa and others, saying, oh, this is the idea, or this is the mind of the Purusha, this is the mind of the God. They are reading the mind of the God through those nimittas when they are mentioning about these planets. That is the basic input. This Vedic astronomy is totally different. It's on a different plane of spiritual and the karma based idea, which the Western astronomy can never unravel. The tropical zodiac of the Western astronomy cannot talk about the stars, the position of the sun behind the star and all this. Certainly. And then coming to the seasons and experiences, we have ample evidence from Ramayana, in the words of Rama himself, in his description of Varsha and Sharad season, when he is describing the good and bad experienced by all the flora and fauna and people around him, and himself wailing about the absence of Sita and how things would have been different. All these are experiences which one experiences more in those seasons, and that is where the seasons come into picture, and not for using as a technique or a factor to date Mahabharata or Ramayana. For further details on seasons and other aspects, one can read my book, Myth of the Epoch of Arundhati of Nilesh Neelkant Oak. And for any queries, I can be contacted in these IDs. Thanks for listening.